Hi, and welcome back to Heal the Dogs with Celeste. Today I want to talk about something that comes up a lot in my work, the rescue dog. What happens when you bring home a rescue dog? What about your expectations? What is it that the dog actually needs? And why some rescue owners, when challenges show up, might feel like they failed, like they weren't ready, or the circumstances weren't right, or they didn't have the right tools. In my experience, it's rarely any of those things. What's missing is usually understanding. And that's something we can always work on. So imagine when you thought about bringing a rescue dog into your house. You already had a feeling about it. There was maybe a picture in your mind, the dog you imagined, the life you would give them. That's not wrong. That's human. That's love. But sometimes that picture, that story we bring, can stand between us and what the dog actually needs from us. We presume that the dog has been through rough times, and we want to make up for that. We want to compensate. But compensation is not what the dog needs. The dog needs a pillar, a structure, a safe space to land. Our job is not to fix the past. It is to be present now, today, in this home, in this pack. When Mojo came to me, my red Irish setter rescue, she threw herself at the floor. Joyful, excited, full of energy, and it would have been easy to read that as a happy, settled dog. But excitement can be a coping strategy. Joy can be a way of managing uncertainty. Just like humans, sometimes the most energetic person in the room is the one carrying the most. A dog who has lived in scarcity, in different homes, maybe on the streets, they have a finely tuned radar for safety. They are constantly reading the room. Is this safe? Can I trust this? How does this pack work? What looks like happiness might be your dog working very hard to figure out where they stand. So in my case with Mojo, she would throw herself at the ground when we went for a walk if we met another person. And I truly saw that was a survival mechanism she had, because she's been living in many homes before she came to me. So I just kindly showed her, you don't need to throw yourself at the ground anymore. You can just be here with me. We can live together. I will understand you. I will understand more about dog language, and you don't need to perform. So here's something important. The dog does not carry the past the way we do. No matter how many homes they've had before, no matter what they've been through, the dog is always asking one question: how do I survive in this pack? The dog is a survivor, always looking forward, always adapting. They don't need your pity, they need your presence, your strength, your clarity. And this is where becoming a dog owner becomes something deeper, because the dog will show you very honestly whether you're bringing presence or worry, clarity or confusion. So when a rescue dog arrives in a new home, they might go quiet in a certain way, or become hyper, all dependent on the personality. They will start to scan, they will start to observe, they will gather intel. They're trying to figure out who handles things here. Who is the safe one? Where do I fit in this structure? And most owners read this phase as the dog settling in and feel relieved. The dog seems calm, seems happy. But what is actually happening is the dog is making an assessment, and they are patient about it. So then, around after a month, 2 or 3, behavior might start to shift. The dog who seemed settled suddenly pulls on the leash, won't come when called for, becomes nervous around guests, will start to bark, maybe go hiding. And the owner is confused. We gave this dog everything. We love them. What happened? So what happened is the dog finished gathering intel and realized no one is clearly handling things here. So the dog decided to handle things. The dog was looking for someone to guide them in a confusing human world. To keep the survival safe in the pack, someone has to be the decision maker. If the dog can't find the decision maker in the pack, looking through the lens of a dog, then the dog will take responsibility. When a rescue arrives, everyone wants to give them love, cuddles, attention, constant affection. And the intention is beautiful. But if the dog is receiving affection all the time, being touched, spoken to, watched, held, there's no space for rest. And rest is how a dog heals. Rest is the most natural thing a dog does when they feel safe. A dog who cannot rest is a dog who does not yet feel safe enough to let go. Again, there's no one else taking over. So sometimes the most loving thing you can offer a new rescue is simply space, quiet, the permission to just be without being needed. So how do you know if your rescue feels safe? You will see it in the behavior, not in the good behavior, but just behavior as information. A dog who rests deeply, who can be in a room without following you constantly, who settles after an activity, that dog feels safe. A dog who is always scanning, always close, always on, that dog is still working to figure out how the pack is structured. It doesn't mean you failed. It just means there's more to understand. And behavior is your invitation to look closer, not to correct, but to understand. So let me give you 5 things your rescue dog needs from you. Presence over pity. Your dog doesn't need you to feel sorry for their past. They need you to be clear and steady today. They need you to protect them in a confusing human world. Space to rest. Not constant affection, not constant attention. Room to breathe, to settle, to be a dog. Structure they can feel. Presence. A calm, consistent way of moving through the day that the dog can read and trust. And this doesn't mean you have to feed your dog exactly the same time every day. It's more about how you go about the day and focusing on your energy, checking into yourself. How are you feeling? Time without a story. Try to meet your dog as they are today, not as the dog you imagined and not as the dog you worry they might become. If we go into our head and start making stories, we're not present. And presence is what the dog needs. Your own calm. The dog is reading you constantly, not your words, but your state. The steadier you become, the more information you give them that things are okay. So if you have a rescue dog who is showing you behavior you don't understand, or if you're thinking about bringing home a rescue, I want you to leave with this. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need a perfect home or a perfect past. What your rescue dog needs is someone who is willing to learn their language, to see the world just a little through their eyes. That's not a technique, that's a relationship. And it starts the moment you decide to look. So thank you for listening to Heal the Dogs with Celeste. You can find me at healthedogs.net, and I'll see you in the next episode.